Uh, when I worked for DuPont, in addition to of course, a lot of work here in the States, I did get very early on. I got quite a few assignments, uh, mainly in Europe, and later in Japan and a few other places. But the thing was, it gave you a chance to experience other countries, other people, and in an atmosphere which is not a touristy atmosphere. You were going in there, you were going in for business, and uh, you had objectives to meet and so forth. This was very early on, still in my career.
Were you dealing mostly with customers, or did you have DuPont staff on the ground over there? Both?
Both.
Okay.
Didn't deal too much with the customers, but we did a lot of dealing with the professionals who were running the plants. These are big plants, and there were a lot of things that were not done to my satisfaction, and obviously I wouldn't be there if it were to DuPont's, the management's satisfaction. And we were trying to work together with them. For example, use of temporary labor. Most temporary labor was from Spain, and temporary means temporary, which meant he might have a summer of work, might have 2 summers of work, and might have just a Christmas season of work. But they were good, reliable people who were prepared to be very flexible in their. And this was interesting to meet these people who were not stupid at all. Most of them college graduates, and the way they were handled in DuPont and fit into a. Now, Luxembourg would not let you bring them in on a permanent basis. You couldn't import labor from Mexico and give them a permanent status.
They didn't do temporary work permit.
It was a temporary work permit, and but it was very helpful to us because, well, these were good workers, and we were building a new industry for them, and this was very enjoyable. But we got to I got to Luxembourg and the numerous places in Luxembourg, and sometimes your mother could go with me, and she got to go along also. And we had adventures. For example, one of the things was we love to look at the old castles, and they're all over Europe.
Yeah, David and I do too.
And in fact, one of them, it had been renovated, but it had not been reopened yet. But they still let us go in, and we were down under in the dungeon, so to speak, if you will, which actually was a dungeon. But as you got down in there, you began to see some stones that were embossed, cut out little memos, and they were in Latin. And obviously, this damn thing dated back to the Roman.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Very interesting.
It's fabulous. Walking in the same footsteps. Yeah, it's a neat sensation.
So we did a number of things in Luxembourg. We made a few trips to other places throughout that general area, and we also went back over and crossed to the White Cliffs of Dover, and came down in London, really, the landing field just outside of London, and stayed there for I think a week. And this was just for us. It was just sort of a little freebie, and we had a good time.
Did you get to Canterbury Cathedral or some of the areas?
I got to so many of those cathedrals. I've actually lost them in them.
Yeah, you're in the right place.
Because the one that was most impressive was the where the king is crowned, or queen, whichever it may be, and they had a nice whole section of that devoted to the Americans who had died in the Second World War. So there was a lot of things to see, a lot of things to do, and just going in some of the stores, especially since we like to watch while you're being served. And we saw a number of stores that just you know.
It remind you of the era.
Yeah, so that was all fun, and not any business really. I might have had a couple of people I had to talk to, but that was about it. And we also made some trips to other places, and I made some of them without your mother. But it was a nice period of in my life where I was respected, doing good work, and still had about 30 people under my command, if you want to put it that way. I felt like they were buddies, not people under my command. And just on that thought, back in the States, we had to do supposed to review, an annual review, and sometimes a bond, but anyway. And I got sick of them coming in and having to lecture them, you know. So I decided I'd try something different for a few hardheads that just didn't seem to
get the message.
To get the message. And I said, well, we're going to do this a little different today. I want you to interview me and tell me what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right. Oh, he didn't like that at all. But he did it because he had no choice. And first thing you know, he warmed up to this and he began to give me some honest to God helpful information. And so that was a good thing. It was learning how to work with people.
Yeah, it was.
And there were a lot of things like that. We had a good many plants. We had plants that I had to visit regularly, and one of them is in Buffalo, New York, Kansas.
Oh yeah, all these ideal state locations.
And
not.
And that's just the beginning. There were all kinds of things.
Well, let me pause the story there.